Well, the first round of the college football playoff came and it went, and I would say that it answered more questions than I thought it was. But one thing that it did answer is that maybe that the group of five just does not belong in the future of the playoffs, because after the way that they played their performances, it may look like the future of the group of five's bid, or the potential for them to get in unless a dominant team shows up, is severely going to be limited. But hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of College Football Under Review, show made by a football fan for football fans everywhere. This episode is our college football playoff first round recap episode. All the games that were played Friday and Saturday, we are going over them, taking them under review. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. It helps us out and lets us know that you enjoy the content and you want to be a part of the under review community. But I think the two big headlines here are Alabama and Miami have great victories after having games that went all the way down to the fourth quarter. And JMU and Tulane's poor performance kind of leaves the group of five playoff future in the air for what the committee may do, what the conferences may vote on for this upcoming vote the day after the playoffs are over. But before we get into all of the college football first round under review, let's talk about 38 Hot Tubs. 38 Hot Tubs is a family-owned and American-built business supplying Viking tubs that feature high-quality material and superior components, ensuring that every aspect of the hot tub is designed to last for years to come. When it comes to relaxation, recovery, and overall well-being, few things compare to the soothing experience of a high-quality hot tub. And for Rob Abel, it's all about helping people improve their health and quality of life. Whether you're an athlete looking for muscle recovery or someone who simply wants to unwind after a long day, soaking in a hot tub can provide numerous benefits. The ideal combination of warm water and hydrotherapy jets can ease tension and lower cortisol levels to help combat anxiety. A hot tub even promotes better blood flow, which leads to better muscle recovery, reduced soreness, and improved flexibility, combined with overall cardiovascular health improvements. Even a nice nighttime soak can improve sleep quality by relaxing the body and mind before bed. If you're interested in experiencing the therapeutic benefits of a Viking spa, reach out to Rob Abel today. If you mention this ad to Rob, your journey to relaxation and wellness starts with a $200 discount off one spa and $600 for an order of two. 38 Hot Tubs, whether you're looking for relief from sore muscles, a way to enhance your fitness routine, or simply a place to relax with family and friends, Rob is here to help you find the perfect hot tub to fit your needs. Now, let's take the first round of the college football playoff under review. The first game we will be going over is the one that happened on Friday night. Number 9 seed Alabama against number 8 seed Oklahoma. Alabama winning that game 34-24 after being down 17-0 in the first half. This game was wild. It was the most exciting game of this playoff, and it happened on Friday. It came out the gate swinging, and kind of just the rest of the weekend sailed off out of the stadium because nothing really compared to this game. Alabama, it looked like they were going to be the same team we have seen all season. When they get down, it didn't seem like they had that fight in them. Alabama was especially not good on third downs. Their offense was being stalled out, but the only way, and the way that they did move their offense and win the game, was through explosive plays, not only on offense, but also one turnover from John Mateer that led to a pick six to tie the game going into halftime. Once that happened, the entire momentum of the game shifted. The Alabama Crimson Tide seemed to be kind of back in this game with the momentum on their side, but it felt like, okay, halftime's coming. Everything's going to, go back to the beginning of the game. It's 0-0 coming into this halftime. And what's going to happen? Well, what happened was Alabama put the Womack on Oklahoma. Kane Womack has been a phenomenal and maybe the best part of this Alabama team when it comes to coordinating and defensively scheming up a game plan. It seems like, maybe at the first quarter of every game, the defense isn't great, but every quarter during those intermissions, during halftime, the adjustments are what really make the key difference for the Alabama defense. And the Oklahoma defense was unable to make those adjustments down the stretch. One big thing that Oklahoma did not have on their side, though, in this game that has been on their side all season is their field goal kicker. He won the best field goal kicker award at the end of the season. And what does he do? He misses 2 field goals that could have put them within striking distance to win the game. This was almost a flip on its head of how the Alabama-Oklahoma game went during the regular season. Oklahoma had over 100 total yards on Alabama. They had more rushing, more passing, and they had better time of possession and third downs. Statistically, you would think Oklahoma won this game, but the game changer that changed the whole momentum of the game was the pick six. It wasn't a crazy special teams play, although Oklahoma's special teams, not only their kicker fell short, but also their punter not only just muffing a punt, just completely dropping a punt, something that was just completely out of the ordinary. I don't know if he was betting on the game. I don't put money on the game, but I'd put money on he had money on the game. Moving forward in this game, though, Alabama now showed us what their ceiling looks like. They showed that, yes, we deserved to be in the playoffs. For Oklahoma, it's more of the same sad story that has followed them since the playoffs have started. Oklahoma is considered a blue blood by many, but what they aren't considered is a winner in the playoffs. They are 0-5 in playoff games, and they are the only team to have 2 losses in the playoffs when they are up by 17. The last one was against Georgia in the Rose Bowl, where Georgia would eventually play Alabama in the national championship and lose in overtime. So I guess the question is it Brent Venables this season, or is it just the Oklahoma curse? I think it's just the curse. I think it is just the bad play on their team. I think the lights were too bright for them when it came down to it, and Alabama was able to look like a tougher, mentally stronger team when it came down to it, especially with the 2 missed field goals for Oklahoma. So Oklahoma's season is over. I think overall, Oklahoma fans should be happy that they made the playoffs because of how difficult their schedule was this season. It's obviously not the finish you wanted. You know you have beaten Alabama. Your offense looked good. Everything was going your way. It was just Alabama's ceiling was just higher than Oklahoma's that night on Friday. And for Alabama, this is huge for them. This was a season where it was very up and down. We saw some very big highs, some very low lows, and it all culminated in a team that is what I would say very streaky, but they seem to be streaky at the right time for the postseason. Alabama going into Indiana, I think Alabama just has all the momentum on their side to kind of say, okay, we're just going to throw it all out on the table because Kalen DeBoer's job is officially, I think it was safe overall, but I think he's feeling a lot better being able to sit back and prepare for Indiana instead of going back home to Tuscaloosa with a loss in his future kind of up in the air, at least with every fan. So yeah, Alabama 34, Oklahoma 24. Oklahoma, I think Brent Venables, give him another year. I think he's doing good, but Alabama just gets it done. Alabama gets it done in the playoffs. And now that takes us to our next game, the first game played on Saturday. That is number 10 seed Miami versus number 7 seed Texas A&M. Miami Hurricanes winning this game 10-3, and probably one of the ugliest games I've ever heard, because I was driving back to Birmingham during this game and I had it on the radio. low scoring. It was about the opposite of the Alabama-Oklahoma game. It was filled with more defensive stops than touchdowns and completed passes. But for Miami, this is huge. As we all know, Mario Crystal usually drops the ball in these situations, but Texas A&M, they were the ones that dropped the ball. And for Texas A&M fans, I think the team's great. The team was playoff worthy. What they weren't worthy or weren't ready for was that they weren't battle tested this season. Texas A&M played the bottom feeders of the SEC all season, struggled against some late, and never really had big tests except for Texas at the end of the season and Notre Dame at the beginning of the season, where they beat them by 1. It was the best regular season in Texas A&M school history, but they were unable to make it an even better year throughout the postseason. For Miami, this is insane for them. This felt like the stepchild getting into the playoff spot. It felt like the team that does belong but doesn't feel like it with all the controversy with Notre Dame and the ugly losses against SMU and Louisville. But what did they do? Their defense traveled. They did such a great job in this game, limiting the run game for Texas A&M, held Texas A&M to only 89 yards, which was absolutely insane. It was exactly what they needed to win this game. Marcel Reed, he showed that he is not a great quarterback if the run game is taken away from him, because the spread is just, it's not there. But the Miami defense, I'm going to give them credit. They were one of a top 15 in the nation coming into this game. They played like it, and they performed like it. Miami, though, their kicker, another problem for them. Their kicker was 1-4 for field goals on the day. Yes, were they in the 40s? Yes, but one of them was at 35. The wind was howling. It was crazy, but that's no excuse, because if Texas A&M had won this game, all of the blame is going to that kicker. Carson Beck, what did I say? I'm going to trust him over Marcel Reed with my offense. As crazy as it sounded, look who's crazy now. Not me, because I got the Miami pick right, because I thought Carson Beck was a more veteran and experienced player. He is now, I believe, 35-5 in college football games, or 36-5 in college football games, which is a crazy stat when you think about it, because 2 of those losses came this season. But when we're looking at it, it was Texas A&M kind of just not able to do much, and they had too many miscues, which stalled their offensive drives. Penalties were a big problem for them in this game. Even though they led the time of possession, they weren't able to do anything with that time of possession. It just felt like the Miami defense was able to bully Texas A&M the entire game, which led to this low-scoring game. Because even though Carson Beck didn't play great, his defense was there for him. And so Miami was able to get this win out. And I think it's huge for Miami in the sense that Mario Cristobal said his vision is he wants to take this program back to the top of the sport. And this win is a huge one for his vision, because they have always, I don't know, I think recently, for me at least, I've seen them as, that really good team that never really makes a playoff. They've continuously been a bubble team because they're not able to finish out a game, and the defense was able to finish out the game for them, and that is what got them the win. So Miami will go on to play Ohio State in the next round. That will be on December 31st, and that'll be the Cotton Bowl. But Miami gets a better win, a better season finish than Texas A&M does. So now we get to the much lesser of a barn burner in both these next 2 games, but they were still the playoff nonetheless, and so we're going to give them the respect they deserve. But number 11 seed Tulane travels to Ole Miss, and to number 6 seed Ole Miss, and loses 41-10. Ole Miss came out the gate in this game, slinging the ball down the field. They were up 14-0 in first 5 minutes, and I knew then that the game was over. Tulane was not really able to do much explosively. When you've got a defensive coordinator taking over, the defense is probably going to be, better when we're looking at this game as Pete Golding managing the defense during the game. And they did a much better job at containing this Tulane team, forcing them to have long drives, which ultimately just did not end up where they needed it. Trinidad Chambliss, he almost got injured. He got a little finicky coming up, took him questionable about taking him out or not. And that's big. You need to make sure your quarterback is safe, because if Trinidad was injured coming out of this game, then their next game really changes this momentum and the dangerousness that they would have going into the next round. But Tulane, John Summerall, he did everything he could. They actually did pretty well on fourth downs, but when you can't score touchdowns, it's ultimately just going to be a bad look. Now, even though this Ole Miss team has all the talent, they looked great, they were explosive, they didn't look consistent on offense like they have used to being. And I'm interested to see that play a factor in next week's game against Georgia. But I think overall, Ole Miss, huge win for the program, huge win. Lane Kiffin knew they were going to win this game, but it's weird. It's weird to see, because this feels like a team where you're going into the playoffs and your backup quarterback's doing better than your starting quarterback. Oh, wait, that's been the Ole Miss season so far, and that's what could be on the line with Pete Golding if he wins against Georgia in the postseason, compared to Lane Kiffin being in Baton Rouge preparing for next season. But we'll get into the Tulane JMU discussion after we go over the next game. But not much on this one, as it was a complete shellacking boat race. It just wasn't pretty for Tulane. And so our last game was number 12 seed JMU against number 5 seed Oregon. Oregon winning this game 51-34. And if you're questioning, yes, JMU did cover. So that's an interesting thing to look at least with however you want to claim that JMU is deserving or not, just because Vegas got it wrong and they were able to cover. But this game, it felt more competitive than the Tulane Ole Miss game. I felt like the Tulane offense wasn't as good as the JMU offense, as JMU scored more. But the big thing for JMU in the Oregon game, it was kind of the same story as Ole Miss Tulane. Oregon was able to get explosive plays early in the game and kind of just take their foot off the gas pedal. Even though it didn't look like they had their foot on the gas pedal, you could tell that they were not putting their starters in. They were playing it safe. They were making sure no one big got injured in this game. JMU, they had a terrible first half. And then in the second half, they kind of started to find their groove, get it going, and actually score some points. But at the end of the day, sometimes talent just beats hard work when hard work can't beat talent. But I know that this Oregon team was working hard, preparing for this game. The JMU banter from their sports page was great. It was a masterclass. But this game had not much going for it at all. Not much going for it, really. And so that brings us to the big question. What are we going to do about the group of 5 teams? I think this can go one of two ways. I think what happens is we keep the same group of 5. We keep the same top 5 playoff, we move to a 16-team format, with this going on, that would have kept JMU and it would have kept Tulane in, but it also would have added 4 more teams in, all of those bubble teams that felt like they should be there over those teams competitively. And I think that's what the committee is ultimately going to go to. They're going to go to 16 teams. I think 24 is too drastic of a jump, even though that's what the FCS does. But I think the FCS, once you start getting into that 24, it really just does not feel like it's a real team. I think the 16, when you look at a season like this year, it's deserving. Last year, I didn't think the 16-team playoff was deserving. But as the games unfolded last night with Tulane, Ole Miss, and JMU and Oregon, I really think people are starting to accept the 16-team playoff. Because at the end of the day, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. We squirted out a 12-team playoff instead of an 8. We didn't, and we just went full throttle before we even sat down and thought about, hey, why don't we slowly, gradually figure this out? Because we can't go back down. I saw some people saying, if we had the 14 playoff, this wouldn't have happened. Yeah, that's true. It wouldn't be a problem. You know why? I've also got something else that's kind of griped in my mind. But if the Pac-12 was still around, there's only one of the group of 5 teams would have gotten in, because if Oregon stayed at the Pac-12, they would have been in, and we wouldn't have had this problem. Now, would we? We would not have this problem. Another team would have been able to get in. It's just something to think about. But if the Pac-12 was still here, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And I think that even though the group of 5 schools are never going to be on the same level as these Power 4 schools in the top 12, you still have to have some representation, I think, just to keep it fair. And some people may say, well, just because it's fair doesn't mean it's right. Yeah, maybe so. But I think that the conferences are not going to vote on it, and they're going to try and, just veto what the Power 4 teams want. Unless the group of 5 gets its own playoff. But if that happens, then we have already said that there is another kind of FCS level, and the FCS would then be obsolete. I don't know about y'all, but I love the FCS. But that's kind of my thought process. I'm overall more accepting of a 16-team playoff based on this, based on the teams coming through. If that's the case, no first-round buys. We don't need any first-round buys for a 16-team playoff. And let the chaos ensue on what happens this offseason with all of the group of 5 talk. But I know this is going to be a shorter episode, but the 2 games, not as interesting. Nothing crazy happened there. No big news happened in the span of these last 3 to 4 days. So we are running very short, but we will be going over the quarterfinal preview next Saturday or Sunday, depending on that. I've got a very busy schedule as of now with the holidays and other whatnot things going on. But I'm Nick Watts. Thank all of you for tuning into this episode, and we'll see you next time when we take more college football under review.